after that goalless draw, because the narratives out there about this game are honestly frustrating me a little bit as somebody who watched Arsenal to show up to Big Six grounds for the last decade and get absolutely trashed. And finally now we show up to Liverpool and City this year and draw in both matches, and we're being talked about as if we're Mourinho parking the bus.
So both can be true. You did park the bus, and you did get a really good point away at the Etihad. I don't know why that has to be like a personal shot or a bad thing. Well, because if you opened up, you probably lose the match. So you did what you needed to do to go get the point. My takeaway from it is, yes, you parked the bus. And for Arsenal today, I think that's the right decision. I think what this does prove is that you're not at the level of a Liverpool or a City yet, where they feel comfortable enough to play their style, no matter what stadium, no matter what opponent, and whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing. I mean, we saw Liverpool do it in a relatively successful way, but I think you guys getting the point was the best case scenario. I think in your prediction, you said a 2-2 draw. It ended up being a 0-0 draw, but I think most Arsenal fans didn't think it was realistic to go get 3 points anyway. So I think getting the point in a relatively comfortable fashion. Was it one shot on goal or two shots on goal?
So that's what I was going to say to you. I think I completely understand like the narrative of, first of all, like I've seen all the gifs that like, there's Arteta and Pep are still passing to each other in the tunnel because it was like 2,000 completed passes and 3 shots on goal total.
Yeah.
We had more shots on goal. We created the same amount of expected goals. Aside from the only shot on goal that City even had was that Ake header on a corner kick, which
should have been a goal.
Which should have been a goal, but like they created nothing from open play.
No, I agree.
And so yes, I agree it can be two things, but I think the negative connotation that's being spit at Arsenal makes no sense. On a day, listen, this is what I have to say, and I think it kind of goes to the point that you've been making for a while, and I think a lot of people agree, is if Arsenal had a singular player in our side that is an overachiever in terms of XG, we win that game. We created more.
Yes.
If we had a Osimhen or if we had Harry Kane or Son, we win that game 10 times out of 10 because we created more. Our chances came in more odd man situations.
Yes.
And as much as that looks sometimes like a park the bus situation, it wasn't necessarily. What we did was we squeezed Manchester City. Anytime they tried to go into our central areas, we squeezed the ball out of them. Gabriel and Saliba, by the way, have completely dismantled Erling Haaland over the past 2 seasons.
They were amazing. And you saying you squeezed them is just... It is a version of a park the bus, which you did extremely well.
But we didn't just park 10 guys on our own box. That's what parking the bus is.
It was two low banks. It was two very low banks.
They got lower as the game went on. But
right, and that's how it goes.
We had multiple periods in the game where we had a control on the game. Not 25 minutes, not the Arsenal we've seen all season, but at the same time, to your point about not the level of Liverpool or City, Liverpool and City showed up to our ground and tried to do that, and they walked away with 0 points.
Yeah.
So
no, that's what I'm saying.
Just because you can show up and have those spells doesn't mean that that's the way to go about a game. On another day where Gabriel Jesus in the first half takes either of those good chances, we're up 1-0, and then we've got the game right where we want it.
No, that's literally what I was going to say is, as a Tottenham fan, I've seen us do the park the bus and 100%. Hit on the counter. We just happen to have Son and Harry Kane.
Correct.
And you have Saka, who was absolutely invisible.
I mean, him and Foden basically... Well, first of all, Foden...
No, let's not... we can get to Foden if you want to, but let's touch on Saka first.
Well, here's what I'll say. Definitely not anywhere near his best match.
No. Not any. He was awful. He was entirely invisible.
No, there were multiple periods.
0 chances created, 0.
You're looking at the Stats Muse tweet.
I mean, that's just a fact. What they tweeted out is that he had 0 everything.
He was not,
and that's not saying.
But
I just looked at the stats. I actually watched the entire game, and he was invisible the entire match.
Multiple patches in the game where he helped Arsenal get a grip on possession times when they. That's the one positive. I agree. This was probably his worst game of the season.
Okay,
but. It was the hardest game of the season. Like, that is to be expected.
Okay, but no, you can't do that because it was the hardest game of the season and your best player goes invisible. That's why I think Saka gets a little, I still think Saka is great. But he's not world class.
His record against the Big Six speaks for itself.
He doesn't have it in him to go take over the match.
That's completely incorrect.
It's just invisibility cloak today.
His record against the Big Six
He was invisible against Porto in the Champions League when they needed him most.
Invisible and not having your best day are not the same thing. Against today,
he had his worst day.
Today,
he had 0 impact on the match.
I mean, I think that's looking at it a little bit in a whatever that's called.
A vacuum?
In a vacuum, thank you. I think that's looking at it a little bit in a vacuum. Yes, this was one of Saka's worst performances of the season, but I think in a match where we're going to set up like that, like that's not a match that Saka's going to be at his best. He's not a transition player.
Well, that's not necessarily true. It's he has less chances and less opportunities on the ball, so you need him to make the most of it. That's why Son's respected because he gets.
But he's a transition player. You're talking about.
He gets 6 or 7 touches against the Man City, and he finishes 2 of them.
And they're playing in transition. He's a transition player.
Correct.
Okay, but Saka was used as I don't know if you saw in the first half, but Saka was used as a
right wing back.
No, well, he was used in defense as a right wing back, but he was used in our game plan as a way of he moved inside. That brought Gvardiol onto him, and Ben White got into space, which got us our 3 best chances of the game.
Yeah.
That was how we were using him because teams are going to key on him. Man City specifically key on Saka. They bring multiple defenders over. Their whole game plan was built around that with Ake and Gvardiol being the left center back.
This match might have saved Gvardiol as being a flop.
Well, this was his best match.
I thought he was fantastic.
Best match in a
He
City
was
shirt.
absolutely fantastic.
This is why they purchased him, by the way, was to do exactly this. Be great going forward, wide range of passing, excellent in 1v1s defensively and offensively. This is the player we saw for Croatia for so long.
I think the only reason you get a little bit of the negative connotation on the Park the Bus is due to the fact that there was no Walker, there was no Stones, and then Ake gets injured. And it's like, if you're Arsenal, I still think the point is a good result. But if you're looking at that back 4, back 3, whatever you want to call it, like if there was any opportunity to go after them and go create chances, like it was this one against Rico Lewis, Akanji, Diaz, and not that they're
you're
bad.
Talking about $100 million pound players.
They're fantastic players, but there's a reason that
it's not like facing Emerson Royale.
No, yeah, I mean, there's nothing like that.
I just think like that. I haven't even seen that narrative because I think people understand like with
they're good
City,
players. No, I get it.
First and second squad are so interchangeable.
100%.
I mean, and that's what everyone built towards, and like that's like you saw Kivior. That's not our first choice left back. It has become because of injuries, and he's been playing well. But he's that's what you need is you need your backup left back to be as good as a Kivior or a Kanji or a Rico Lewis, who is a gem they found in the academy, of course. But yeah,
I had 2 more takeaways. One, I thought Kevin De Bruyne was awful.
Worst game.
I think he's in a little bit of slump.
Usually, that was, by the way, brilliant by Arteta. I don't know if you like.
I disagree because he got into a lot of places where if he was having a good day, his services and like creation with what we know he's capable of. He got frustrated
early though by the fact that anytime he popped up in the left-hand half spaces, Ben White was on his. That's why Saka was playing that right wing back because Ben White was basically shadowing Kevin De Bruyne in that first half, and then De Bruyne got frustrated, and in the second half he was terrible.
He was. I mean, yeah, but usually whether you want to like, sure, Arsenal frustrated, but like Kevin De Bruyne, the spaces he got into and the opportunities he had to whip different balls in. On another day, those are way more dangerous.
So why is that coincidental, but Saka's had the worst match of all time?
No, I'm not saying it's coincidental. I'm just saying, like...
That's my issue with the whole narrative, though, of the whole game that everyone's talking about is like, oh, like the Arsenal parked the bus. We're the first team to stop Manchester City from scoring at home in 57 matches.
It's not a negative thing. It's just a fact. But I think the reason it's become a narrative is because Arsenal fans try and act like they didn't park the bus.
Has a negative connotation. You talk about Brentford as parking the bus.
It does have a negative connotation just because, like,
we scored the most goals in the league.
As a neutral, you never want to see that. Like, this was built up to be such a fun game, and neutrals are obviously going to hate on but as an Arsenal fan, I would be happy that we parked the bus because that would be delusional to think that you could go out and go beat them. I don't think you're at that level yet, the way Liverpool is.
I mean, everyone says the way Liverpool is. Liverpool have won Premier League. If we were to go win the league this year, we are the level of Liverpool officially. They've won 1 Premier League over Manchester City.
Yeah. I mean...
I'm just saying, like, there's such a narrative that Liverpool is as good as City over this period. They are nowhere close.
No, but they give them the hardest run for their money.
They gave them the hardest run when no one else in the entire league could potentially even give them a run for their money. But, like, if you just were to look at it as Liverpool being a different team every year, like, they have only won 1 Premier League.
No, I understand. But, I mean, they're the only ones who consistently give this best dynasty the consistent trouble that they do. I think that's the only small difference, but I think being self-aware enough to not do that, I think is very positive by Arteta.
If City win this year and we come second, we've officially come in second to City the same amount of times as Liverpool have. I'm just saying.
I understand. I'm just saying consistently it's known who gives them the most trouble. Where people land is one thing, but that's just a fact that they are willing to open up, play them every now and again, potentially dominate them, and yeah, and then the last thing is I still think your Kai Havertz over Erling Haaland take
was better today?
was egregious. Erling Haaland was awful.
Havertz was better today.
Havertz
both
had no
bad.
impact. One wasn't better than the other. Both had zero impact.
Okay.
On a day where Haaland is in good form and has that confidence, why he tried to cut that back to Diaz. Another day, he absolutely just smashes that into the top of the net. And
well, you want to know why? Because Gabriel and Saliba have his number.
100%. I think, by the way, while that may be true, I think a lot of people are giving him a lot of fits, and people may have, he came in, pretty much dominated the entire league, and now people may be adjusting to how you defend Haaland, and maybe there's a little bit of a playbook out